Welcome to AGK's Vinyl Life. I'm your host, Anthony K. And on this video, we've got another record shopping vlog. But this is a different one. Today, I'm at a flea market. That's right, a flea market. And in this particular flea market, there is a very large record seller. Most of his records sell for anywhere from $2 to $5 or $6. But he always has wonderful things. I haven't been to this flea market in a year and a half, not since the pandemic started. This is my first trip back to this flea market. So we're going to hit the flea market and see what's new there. Is this record seller even still here? Did he survive the pandemic? We're going to go in, take a look, and do some crate digging at one of my favorite flea markets in all of the GTA. And I'll see you guys all in a couple minutes. So here we are at the Fantastic Flea Market entrance. We're going to head on inside to the Fantastic Flea Market and see what's new. I'm going to walk you in, and I'm going to walk you all the way to the record department, to the record store, to the record booth, whatever you want to call it. Here we go. What's new at the Fantastic Flea Market? It's all the way at the back here, the record department, the record store, the record booth, whatever you want to call it. It's all the way at the back of the flea market. We're heading straight for it, and we will find out, does the store still exist and what's new? And yes, it is still there. The Fantastic Flea Market record booth is still here, and I am looking forward to getting in and doing some crate digging. So as you can see here at the flea market, there's lots of people browsing for records. There's a wall of really great stuff here. Lots of really great finds up on the walls, and lots of $2 bins. And we're gonna have a dig through some of these bins and see what we can find. Let's do some digging. There's a stack of records right here. And I'll just show you one stack of things that are here. The selection in this place is incredible. Always find wonderful, wonderful things. This is just one stack of records that's just sitting here. He gets records in so fast he can't even file them, but he sleeves every one of them. He inspects them all. And it's just amazing what he gets here. So there's just one stack of records. I gotta move this stack of records just to get to the dig. Just to get to the dig, I gotta move this stack of records. I've actually pulled a couple things aside. A 2016 remix of Relay that I can't even find on Discogs. Triumph Classics, double LP. These are both. This is a sealed copy. Putting those aside. And I'm going to start digging right here in the A's and work my way around the whole flea market. So I'm going to put the phone, I'll give you a little dig here. We'll start in the A's. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff here. So I'm just going to pause the camera, do a little digging. I'll be back in a couple minutes and show you a little bit more around this flea market. So after about 20 minutes or so, I've dug through these crates here. This is only the beginning, and I've pulled this stack, which I will then have to go through again later and narrow down, but I have found a pile of stuff. But I still have all of these bins, all of those bins, all of those bins up into the wall. Then I got to do a quick search through these bins and then over to the $2 side and do a ton of work there. I still have a ton of crate digging to do, and I've already got this big stack, but obviously I will narrow this stack down in the end. But we're gonna keep on digging. So I finished looking through the alphabetical LPs, rock and pop area, and punk. Found a few punk jams. My pile hasn't gotten too much bigger. We're about to go digging through the 12-inch singles and EPs now, and there's a whole whack of bins. So this was going to take me a while. I've been here about an hour now, and we're going to start crate digging through this pile here. So 3 hours later, almost, I have dug through all of these bins here, which are all 12-inch singles and EPs. All of those two bin rows there, which are all rock and pop and R&B reggae. I've dug through all of these bins here, which are the rest of the 12-inch singles. I didn't go through country. I took a quick look at the soundtracks, and I'm skipping these here. And of course, here's the stuff on the wall. This is the wall of gold, I guess you could say. This is the wall of gold. Lots of great things here. Lots of great things here. I now need to go over to that section over there. So after 3.5 hours of digging, I'm not going to dig through the dollar bins this weekend, maybe on another weekend. I took a little bit of spot digging for a few artists I was looking for. This is my stack. I've got a big stack. I'll show you guys all when I get home, when I get out of here. I'll show you guys what I got this weekend at the big digging here at the Fantastic Flea Market's Dixie Records. I got a good stack here. I threw a few things away, and it looks like a lot of money here, but it's actually not very much at all. So this is a major, this is my August, I think my August shopping all in one. But I'm happy with what I found. These are all $2 bins. There are some gems sometimes in these, but after 3.5 hours of digging over on that side, I don't think I'm going to spend some more time digging through all of this. So I'm going to be checking out and heading home, and once I get back, I will show you guys everything I got at the flea market this weekend. So I hope you all enjoyed my little vlog from the Fantastic Flea Market that I visited this morning. I was in there crate digging for 4 hours, non-stop, 4 hours, and I only really did one half of the store. The other side, I only did a little bit of spot crate digging for a few artists that I was looking for, but I didn't really do a deep dive in the other side. Maybe another day in the future I'll head back there and do a deep dive in the other side. That's the first time I had been to that record store in a 1.5 years at least. I have not been to that flea market since before the pandemic began. That particular flea market was a regular stop of mine, as there's a wonderful record seller in that flea market that I've gotten many fantastic things from over the years, and shown some things on my channel that I had picked up at that flea market, such as the Slaughter album, still sealed for $5. Roxy Music, Flesh and Blood Japanese press, sealed $5. So I've just to name a couple things that I've picked up over the last few years from him. I've always gotten wonderful things from him, and I used to try to go to that particular flea market once a month before the pandemic happened. Like I said, once the pandemic hit, the flea markets were shut down. We're in lockdown. And when I went there today, I didn't know if he would even still be there after a year and a half of lockdown and whatnot. You know, it's tough on people that, you know, have booths in flea markets to survive lockdowns, but indeed he did survive the lockdown. And I was rather surprised when I walked in there today to see that not only did his booth survive, but it was double the size. So I guess whoever was next to him moved out and he took over that side, and his vinyl section is now double the size. I spent 4 hours crate digging in just one side, and I went through every single bin, 4 hours nonstop digging through every single bin, and I didn't even get to the other side, though I did go to the other side and do a little bit of spot digging here and there for certain artists that I was checking on, but one day I'll go back and do a deep dive in the other side. Now that I know he's open and things are at the moment a little safer and whatnot, and you know, I've got my 2 jabs and all the rest of it. So I will be going back there again in the future. Not in a big rush though, because I got a big stack of records today, a big stack of records. I guess it makes up for a year and a half of not going there. But I do love that flea market, and I do love that record seller, and it's glad to see he survived the lockdowns and whatnot, and indeed is doing better than ever. So I'm going to be showing you what I got there. But before I do that, I'm going to show you a couple other things that I picked up over the last few weeks at other flea markets and antique stores, thrift stores, that I visited over the last few weeks with my daughter on summer holidays. My daughter and I have tried to get out on some day trips here and there and a little bit of road trips to some small towns outside of Toronto. And so we visited a few different small towns and, of course, cottage country when I go up to cottage country and so on. So I've picked up the odd thing here and there over July and the first week of August here in various places. So I'm going to show you those just a few things that I picked up in those places as well. Before we get on to the stack of records here in front of me, just want to remind everybody that if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thumbs up always make people feel good. And if you're not a subscriber, subscribe to my channel and turn that notification bell on so you don't miss any of my videos. I try to post a video like this once a week. And last but not least, comments down below. I always reply to every comment. And if you're not a follower on Instagram, follow my Instagram, which is at AGK_Lifetime of Vinyl, where I try to post my spin of the day every day, among other things. Let's get on with it. Let's get on with this pile of records. And first up, though, this is not a thrift store find or flea market find or anything like that. This first record I'm going to show you was a gift to me from Rick at Rick's Recollections, and people that watch my channel know that Rick's Recollections is one of my favorite stores to shop always. Rick's a good friend and always treats me well at his store and always has fabulous stuff. And this was just a plain up gift from Rick. He called me up one day and he goes, "Anthony, I know you're looking for this album. I've got one for you. Come pick it up. It's yours for free." So thank you very much, Rick, for this. I really thank you, my friend, for this. And it is the soundtrack to The Phantom of the Opera, the play, the Sarah Brightman version, the original cast recording, Phantom of the Opera. I love this play. I'm not a person for plays, but this play I absolutely love. I absolutely love the music from this. This is a 2 LP edition and includes a wonderful book as well with all the lyrics and everything from the play. So just thrilled to have this. I absolutely adore this. Like I said, I'm not a big musical person or play person, but Phantom of the Opera, I absolutely love this. So thank you very much, Rick, at Rick's Recollections, for this wonderful gift. It will be well loved, for sure. Phantom of the Opera, original cast recording. Next up is something I picked up north at a thrift store. I found this one in a thrift store, and it's in minty condition. And I think I paid like 50 cents for this one, and really happy to have this. This is Nash the Slash, Children of the Night. Anybody that knows who Nash the Slash is, famous Toronto musician. He's a violinist. He plays, I believe, violins, electric mandolins, electric violins, all sorts of these kind of crazy string instruments. He's he always dressed up like the Invisible Man when you'd go see him in concert. I saw him many times. He dressed up like the Invisible Man always. Never showed his face. Nash to Slash. This is Children of the Night, featuring the big smash single Dead Man's Curve. Was a big hit here in Toronto. And there's also a wonderful, wonderful cover of 19th Nervous Breakdown by the Rolling Stones, and a reimagining of Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water with some new lyrics, some changed lyrics, same melody, and this one's called Dopes on the Water. Nash to Slash would go on, of course, to play in the band FM and be, of course, on FM's Black Noise album and Tonight album. So Nash to Slash solo album, really great spin. Found this up north in a little thrift store, and it's minty, 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 all minty fresh. It's got the lyrics and everything. Wonderful, wonderful spin. Nash to Slash. And I think I paid 50 cents for that. Next up, something else I found now. The next three I found in a little flea market outside of town when, like I said, when I was on a road trip with one of my July road trips with my daughter, and we were poking around in small towns and things, and we found this at a little flea market in a little small town here in Ontario, close to Peterborough. And I picked up three things at that flea market, and this was a couple of weeks ago. And the first thing I picked up was this one right here, and I'm really happy to have this. I didn't know this even existed. And this is, I bought this purely for my collection. People that know me know that I'm a big fan of the Pet Shop Boys. In fact, I have more Pet Shop Boys items in my music collection than any other artist. I have over 80 items between CDs, 7-inch singles, 12-inch singles, LPs, CDs, like I said, everything. Pet Shop Boys have more of than any other thing in my collection. So I grabbed this one. When I saw this one, I had to have it right away. And I only paid a couple of bucks for this thing. Only a couple of bucks for this thing. I found this in a small town flea market. And this is a UK press. It's a UK press. I didn't know it existed, but it's wonderful to have in my collection. From 1987, a UK press made in England. The Pet Shop Boys, The Interview Picture Disc, limited edition. Really nice to have this in my collection from the Pet Shop Boys, 1987. And I gather this is an interview from their Actually album, when they released their Actually album. It's a interview, two-sided interview disc. And I just got this as a collector's item more than anything else, $2. But it looks like it's in great shape. I'll probably play it and listen to the interview anyhow. But there you are, Pet Shop Boys, the interview disc. Really nice little addition to my Pet Shop Boys collection. And crazy to find something like that in a little flea market up north in the middle of nowhere. You never know what you're going to find when you go to flea markets. Also from that same flea market, I got a copy of the Candy soundtrack. And this is an original first press on ABC Records. First press on ABC Records of Candy. Soundtrack from the crazy, crazy sex romp, early 70s sexploitation, sex romp film. And this is a great soundtrack. And I've been looking for this for actually a lot of years. And found it in a flea market up north. Candy, with songs performed by the Byrds and Steppenwolf on here. It's a really good soundtrack. So happy to have this in my collection, Candy. And of course, the movie featured, cameos or guest starring, small roles, guest starring spots from a lot of famous actors in this crazy sex romp, like Charles Aznavour, Marlon Brando, Richard Burton, James Coburn, John Huston, Walter Matthau, even Ringo Starr. Candy, motion picture soundtrack. And I picked that one up for a big 50 cents at the flea market, at that same flea market that I got the Pet Shop Boys in. 50 cents for that one. And it's in minty, minty condition. The record looks like it's never been played. And the cover's not too bad at all, considering it's an original first press. And the last one I got from that particular flea market, also for 50 cents. And this one is minty, minty fresh. The vinyl looks like it's never been played at all. And, many people in the vinyl community have been like, Anthony, you don't have any monkeys in your collection? Are you kidding us right now? Why do you not have any monkeys in your collection? So it was like, when I saw this, I just thought of all the people that are always telling me, Anthony, you need some monkeys in your collection. So for 50 cents, 50 cents. I thought this was a worthwhile purchase because it's like new. This cover doesn't got a, this cover is clean, clean, clean. It's the Monkees' greatest hits on Astra Records. It's just beautiful. Arista Records. Arista Records pressing. Minty, minty, not a scratch on it. And it's got all the great Monkees hits on it. Monkees theme, Last Train to Clarksville, She, Daydream Believer, you know, Listen to the Band, I'm a Believer. I don't even know a lot of the Monkees songs, so I guess I'll be getting an education. But there you go. The Monkees' greatest hits, 50 cents at the little small town flea market. And I now finally do have some Monkees in my collection. Next up, I found this one a few days ago on another road trip my daughter and I went on. And we ended up in a town called Port Hope. And there wasn't much to see in Port Hope. We had an absolutely fabulous hamburger at a place called Olympus Burger. An absolutely fabulous hamburger. And we found two things in that town. The first thing I found, and I'm going to show a picture of it in a second, was actually a dual cassette deck. I have a lot of cassette tapes, a lot of mixtapes that I made myself. And in the last year or so, I've been playing them on a little Sony Walkman when I take my dog for a walk. And I actually hooked up my old JVC single tape deck thing to my stereo a few months ago and started playing them on my stereo again. But the JVC deck, it's a single tape deck and it actually runs on D-cell batteries. So it doesn't have an actual AC adapter anymore. It actually runs on D-cells. So I've been running that on my home stereo system for the last few months, saying, you know, one day if I see a thrift store cassette deck, I'll grab it and get the cassette spinning again on my system. And here in this little small town of Port Hope, in an antique store, I found a Technics, circa somewhere between 1998 and 2004. This particular model came out. Somewhere in those times, and I'll show a picture of it here. A Technics dual cassette deck. Here's a picture of it. That's a picture I took of it after I hooked it up. When I found it, it was in pristine condition. The tape heads were dirty. I cleaned the tape heads and pinch rollers and demagnetized the tape heads. But the thing runs like an absolute charm. It runs perfectly, no servicing needed of any sort, and it sounds absolutely great. And like I said, from the information I found on the internet, it is circa somewhere between 1998 and 2004 they produced this particular model of the Technics cassette deck. Full logic control, Dolby, B&C, and it sounds really great. And I paid, including tax and everything, at the little antique store, 12 Canadian dollars. 12 Canadian dollars. I think they originally sold around $150 Canadian plus tax when they were new, but I got it for a grand total of 12 Canadian dollars cash, all in, and wow. What a great thrift store find. Happy to have it. Sounds great. And so, but also at that same little antique store in Port Hope, I found this album. And my daughter pointed this one out to me first. My daughter is into vinyl now, and she likes to put record album jackets and albums on her wall. And we found this one here called Unfinished Business. And she liked the cover, and she's like, "Oh, can we get that, Dad? It's only like $2. Can we get it and put it on the wall? I want to put it on the wall." And I was like, I'm gonna look this one up. What is this? What even is this? Maybe it's something good. Because when we opened it up and looked at the record, it had kind of a cool record label, and inside there was, it had the original. It had this credits sheet that looks like it's been ripped out of a notebook, like a school, high school notebook with these crazy, doodles and drawings, which are actually the credits and the thank yous on it. And there was also this other little thing here, this little drawing, this little unfinished business drawing. So I got a little bit curious about where this came from, so I discogs it and looked it up. And when we got home, we decided to buy it for $2. We decided to buy it, and we said, you know what? Let's buy it. It's only $2. It could be a hidden gem. Who knows? It could be a hidden gem. So we bought it, brought it home, and did some research on it. And it turns out that this came out in 2014, or 2013 or 14. And it's actually by a Toronto punk band. And the first side of this is the raw tracks, performed just raw punk tracks. And the B-side is remixes of the tracks done in all sorts of styles, from electronica to dance to jazz to whatever. All sorts of remixes of the songs on the flip side. But the first side is basically the songs all done raw punk. And it's actually really interesting. We spun it and said, wow, this is really interesting. And when we looked it up on the internet, they described the music as somewhere between Le Tigre and the Coat Hangers as to the style. It was in the same style. They said this music falls somewhere in between Le Tigre and the Coat Hangers, two great punk bands, local Toronto band. And then as we dug a little deeper to find out about this band, turns out it's three young ladies that were all between the ages of 13 and 15 years old. So a really odd thing. And the first time we spun it, we're like, okay, sure. But the more we listened to it, the more we kind of liked it. So the more we spin it, the more I like it. It's really raw punk with these young girls doing this raw punk. And this is probably the most rare album I have now in my entire record collection, because when we researched this album, we found out that they only released this album on Bandcamp digitally, and then on cassette tape. They released 50 copies of this album on cassette tape, and only 10 copies of this album on vinyl. And I have one of the 10 copies on vinyl. Apparently only 10 copies of this were pressed to vinyl. So it kind of is my most rare album in the collection. So it's not going on my daughter's wall. We're putting it in the collection and then in the super rare section. And it's actually kind of a fun spin. So Unfinished Business. The album's called Mix and Mash. Some Canadian modern punk. So those are those. And now we're going to move on to today's haul. So those were the thrift store, antique store, flea market finds. Now we're going to move on to what I got today at the Fantastic Flea Market that I visited, that you saw in the vlog. And I got a big pile of records here. I'm going to try to blow through them pretty quick here. I don't want to take up too much time. But I got a lot of 12-inch singles today, because I've been meaning to deep dive 12-inch singles at record stores and flea markets and so on and so forth, because I just been wanting to get some more 12-inch singles. I love 12-inch singles and EPs from the 80s, 70s, 80s, and so on, 90s, and even the modern ones too. So I decided I found a lot of 12-inch singles that I really wanted today. A real hodgepodge of stuff that I was like, yeah, let's get this. And the 12-inch singles were all only $1 each. So you can't argue there. Only $1 for a 12-inch single. And the first one I got, and this one's pretty cool. The first one I got is April Wine, and this is a promo copy, not for sale, of April Wine's Sons of the Pioneers, which is really cool to have this, because this was originally on their Animal Grace album, I think it was called. Yeah, on their Animal Grace album, which I don't have. And this is probably my all-time favorite April Wine song, Sons of the Pioneers. And it's a double-sided, A-sided 12-inch single, a promotional copy. I guess they gave it to radio stations or whatever. I paid $1 for it. April Wine on Capitol Records, Sons of the Pioneers. It's probably going to sound great because it's, a 12-inch single. And 12-inch singles always had really great sound over, LPs, because wider groove spacing and so on and so forth. Sons of the Pioneers, April Wine, 12-inch single, only $1. And all these next few I'm going to show you are only $1. They're all 12-inch singles. The next one I got, I saw it and it was one of those ones I flipped by. It was like, and then wait a minute. And I flipped back and I go, I remember this song. And this is the Brooklyn Express and Billie Jean / Do It Again. And this is a disco funk, whatever. It's more funk than anything, from early 80s. It's one side is the Billie Jean Do It Again. The flip side is the instrumental version. And the reason I got this is because back in the day when I did a little bit of DJing in the club, this was a very, very popular song that they wanted to hear in the club. And it's basically Michael Jackson's Billie Jean mashed up with Steely Dan's Do It Again, performed by Brooklyn Express. And it's actually a really cool song. So I'm looking forward to hearing this again. I haven't heard this in like 30 years, probably. So looking forward to spinning that one again. Only $1. Why not? Next up, from Toronto, Legends Rough Trade. They had a few Rough Trade 12-inch singles there, and I could have actually gotten 2 or 3 of them, but I just got the one because I really love this song, and the flip side. Both the song and flip side are fantastic. This is Rough Trade's mega mixes of Decadence and All Touch, but no contact. Rough Trade, Toronto band, Rough Trade, headed up by Carol Pope. Rough Trade, Decadence and All Touch. Rough Trade, 12-inch single. Nice to have that. Only $1. Love Rough Trade. Next one I couldn't resist. There's another one from back in those days when I used to DJ and stuff. And this was always a crowd pleaser. And of course, this is good old Miss Samantha Fox. And Touch Me, I Want Your Body, the 12-inch mix version with the extended remix. I think there's a single mix here. Yeah, the single edit, the extended version, the blue mix, and the alternative version. So 4 different mixes of the classic Touch Me, I Want Your Body. Samantha Fox, who of course was famous as being, I think she appeared topless in some British magazine or something, some magazine somewhere, and caused a big hoo-ha back in the day when she released her albums. But a classic song, and for $1 you can't go wrong. Samantha Fox, Touch Me, I Want Your Body. Next is a UK 12-inch single from a group called Fuzzbox. And I have Fuzzbox's full-length album, which I really, really like. I remember having it on CD back in the early 90s. And then found it again on vinyl, on a UK press in vinyl a few years ago. And I really like the album. And this is taken from that album. This is Fuzzbox and Self. And this is, of course, the extended mix of Self by Fuzzbox. And this is a UK press. I think it's on, is this one on EMI or something? Oh, this is on Warner. Cool Warner label. Fuzzbox, Self, the extended mix. And this also has Wait and See and Bohemian Rhapsody. So Bohemian Rhapsody, obviously a B-side. Be interesting to see how they performed it. Fuzzbox and Self. Next up is another 12-inch single, and that, of course, $1. These were all $1. All these 12-inch singles were $1. And this is Derude. And Derude is, of course, a trance artist from the late 90s and early 2000s. Derude's biggest hit was Sandstorm, a fantastic song, which I absolutely love. And I rarely see trance here in Toronto, any sort of trance on vinyl. So I was thrilled to find this one for $1 in the bins. And this is Derude and Music, and the different mixes of Derude's Music song from 2003. 12-inch single. Happy to have that for $1. Next one, also $1. And I have this on a 7-inch single version. I have the 7-inch single version of this, but happy to find this again. I used to have this one on 12-inch way back in the day and traded it in back in the time when we traded all our albums in like idiots, in the 90s. But happy to find this again, finally, on 12-inch. I do have a 7-inch version of this, but now tonight, really nice to have the 12-inch version of Genesis's EP, Spot the Pigeon, which was released just after their And Then There Were Three LP. Because I absolutely love this thing. Match of the Day, Inside Out I loved, and this was the original first press on the lovely blue vinyl. Atlantic Records on the blue vinyl of Genesis's EP, Spot the Pigeon. Really nice to find that again. $1. Thank you very much. $1. Thank you very much. Spot the Pigeon, Genesis. And also for $1, one that's, I always see this one in stores. I always see it, but always for a lot more money. And found this one for $1. Minty, minty new. The Honey Drippers. And of course, featuring Robert Plant. The Honey Drippers. And their Volume 1 EP, only $1, with the fabulous Sea of Love and Rockin' at Midnight. So great to finally have that. Canadian press, first Canadian press, probably only Canadian press. Honey Drippers, Volume 1, $1. Also $1, Canadian legend. I've talked about these guys before. I've talked about this man before, who was originally from the band Max Webster. He was the front man for Max Webster. This is his original first EP, simply called Kim Mitchell. This was his debut EP after Max Webster broke up. And I used to have this one a few years ago, so I was happy to have this one back in the collection for only $1. This is his self-titled EP, Kim Mitchell, with the fantastic Kids in Action. That song alone is worth the buck alone. Kids in Action, Max Webster, debut, Kim Mitchell, from Max Webster, debut EP. And then from a few years later, also from Kim Mitchell, one of his most famous albums, and this thing is mint. This thing is gorgeous. Look at the shine. This cover is absolutely minty fresh. Shaken Like a Human Being, a famous Kim Mitchell album, probably one of his most famous albums. It's got the original sleeve. The vinyl is pristine, like new. I don't think it was ever played. This thing is just gorgeous. And I got this. This is the first of the LPs now, and this cost me a grand total of $2. Grand total of $2. And of course, the big songs from this were, of course, Patio Lanterns and That's the Hold. So, great to have that. Kim Mitchell, Shaken Like a Human Being, wearing the good old Ontario Provincial Police cap on his head. Max Webster, minty fresh, $2. Next up, another $2 find today. And this one is a pretty darn minty fresh too. It's got the original inner, and the vinyl is pristine. Kansas Leftoverture. This is a really fine specimen of an album here. I used to have this album years ago. Nice to get this back in the collection for only $2. Kansas Leftoverture, with, of course, the incredible Carry On Wayward Son and magnum opus, which I always absolutely loved, magnum opus. So nice to have that back in my collection for a grand total of $2. Next up, also $2, an album I also used to have back in the day, an underrated album for sure, from a great performer. And I don't know why this album wasn't bigger, but I love this album, especially for the opening track. And this is Nils Lofgren's Nils album with the incredible No Mercy. What a great song. No Mercy, worth the price of the album alone. Nils Lofgren. And look at this minty fresh cover once again. Minty fresh cover. Nils Lofgren, who would, of course, go on to play with Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band in the 80s. But Nils Lofgren, I believe this album's from late 70s. Yep, 79. No Mercy, $2. And the next one is an oddity that people that know me know that I collect the Cheesecake album covers. I love Cheesecake album covers. I do collect them. So whenever I see a really good, really interesting Cheesecake album cover, I pick it up. And of course, most of them are on jazz and whatever. This is a Latin easy listening pop thing by Pepe Dramillo. And the album's called Down Mexico Way. But we'll see what it's like. I like Latin music. I love Latin music. People know that I love Latin music. This is a UK press, believe it or not. A UK press, and it is minty. It's got those typical shiny UK covers. It's on Studio 2 stereo, and it's an EMI pressing on the classic EMI label. The red and brown EMI label. It's really minty fresh. I'm actually kind of interested to hear what it sounds like. But it's called Down Mexico Way. If it's not a wash, the cover's a winner. Fabulous cheesecake. I love the cheesecake. I mean, I'm a photographer, so yeah, I do collect the cheesecake covers. When I see a really nice one, it's nice to get it in my section in my collection where I keep all the fabulous cheesecake covers. And this has got a really pretty cover. I thought this was a really nice cover. So for $2, why not? And next up, the last $2 album I got today, the last of the $2 albums I got today. This is a 2014, I believe this album came out 2014. This is a these guys are experimental electronic synth pop experimental music. I've heard these guys before, and I didn't know any of their stuff was on vinyl. They've only released, I think, only the one album, but I heard this somewhere. I don't remember where I heard this, but it was pretty cool. And saw this, and it was $2, and it is Sins and I Die. Sins, I Die. A little bit of a naughty cover there. Don't look too hard at the cover, But this is a pretty cool album. They are a Canadian band, or a Canadian artist, Sins. I Die, and this thing is in mint, mint, mint condition. Wonderful, wonderful condition. It's like new. Sins, I Die. So great to have picked that one up for $2. And now the last few little things in my collection. These are the top of the pile. These ones are the real sweet treat. These were the grail, whatever you want to call them. Not really grail, but these were the finds of the day right here. This pile here. These are the finds of the day. These ones were all on his wall of gold, I guess you could call it. These four are on the wall of gold. And people that know me know that for years I was searching for a copy of Relayer by Yes. And I really wanted the Steven Wilson remix of Relayer, but I didn't want the Steven Wilson box set. The Steven Wilson box set, of course, you know, you get the 5 albums, the Yes album, Fragile, Close to the Edge, Tales of Topographic Ocean, and Relayer in that 5 LP box set. But it's like a couple $100. And I didn't want Topographic Oceans at all. And I already had the other albums on LP and wasn't really interested in because they're not favorites of mine, honestly. The Yes album, I mean, I like them, but they're not high on my list of favorites by Yes. And the only one I really wanted from that Steven Wilson box set was Relayer, because I love Relayer. It's one of my favorite Yes albums of all time. That and Drama. And so I wasn't going to obviously spend the money for the box set just to get Relayer. And then Mark Anthony K from Project Gemini graciously VCLT'd me a copy of the Friday Music 2009 reissue of Relayer, which I'm really happy to have. Thank you very much, Mark. And now I have the Steven Wilson remix because somebody traded in. They broke up the box set, obviously, and traded in. But they traded in Relayer. And this is the Steven Wilson 2018. The remix is from 2016, but was released in 2018. This is the Steven Wilson remix with the redone artwork, which I really love the artwork, the new artwork over the original Relayer artwork. I mean, I like the Relayer cover, but I also thought it was very monotone. So I really love this version of the Relayer cover. And this is the Steven Wilson remix. So I now have both versions that I wanted of the Relayer album, the original and the Steven Wilson remix. And I got this one. This one was originally on the wall of gold, I guess, as I called it, for $15. But when I went to the cash register and dropped my big stack of records on the cash register, and the guy remembers me. He knows me. I've been shopping there for years. He let me talk him down on all these next 4 were all talked down, and this was going for $15. And he gave it to me for $10. So wow, and this is like mint. So this was a fantastic find. Relayer, picked it up for $10, and these other two here, these other ones here, I also picked up real cheap as well. The next one is one that's missing from my Iron Maiden collection. This is Peace of Mind, and this is the recent 2012 remasters and reissues. Peace of Mind, still sealed, $5. Still sealed. It was originally on for $10, but he gave it to me for $5. $5, still sealed. Iron Maiden, Peace of Mind. Wow, thank you very much for that. And then the last two, the real pièce de résistance, or whatever you want to say. Did I even make sense? I don't know. I doubt it. But the last two here, an album that was missing from my Deep Purple library, an album I've always wanted to sometime find a decent pressing of, or a decent, used pressing of, and he had one in the store today. And it's Deep Purple's Made in Japan. I love this live album, always have. My original version of this album was on 8-track tape, and I played that 8-track tape to death, and I never did own it on LP. I only ever had it on 8-track, so I'm really glad to finally have this on LP. Deep Purple, Made in Japan. And if you will notice, this is the Rocktober edition on purple vinyl. He had this on his wall of shame for $20, and he gave it to me for $10. So thank you for that. Wow, $10, can't argue there. And last but not least, in the pile today. Also, only $10. Originally on his wall of shame for $20, and he gave it to me for $10 just because, you know, I bought so much stuff. He gave it to me for $10 today, and it is Triumph Classics, the 2 LP. This is the 2019 issue of this album with bonus live tracks, and this is their greatest hits on 180 gram silver vinyl double album set with bonus live tracks. And I got this one still sealed, $10, and this has all the great Triumph songs on it. Lay It on the Line, Magic Power, Fight the Good Fight, Rock and Roll Machine, Never Surrender, Blinding Light Show. So happy to have this one. Very happy because it is out of print. It's really hard to find now. You look it up there. You know, some people are asking for like $180 for this on Discogs. So really happy to have this. $10. That's it. That's all. That's everything I got at a number of flea markets, thrift stores, antique stores over the month of July up to today, which is the 7th of August. That's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all very, very soon in my next video. And as I always say, rock and roll!